anymore? Talking about pandemic, what's the problem?
All right, folks, my name is Tom Vassell. Welcome to the Dice Tower live at Cool Mini or Not. We've been having problems running our streaming here, but we are going to take you to Z Garcia and Richard Lanius here, and if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them, or they're just going to talk. Right now, we're going to look at a new game that's coming out soon.
Hey everybody, what's going on? Z Garcia over here. I'm here with Richard Lanius. How you doing, Rich?
I'm doing good. Good to be here, Z.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have a nice big old box in front of us here, full of plastic goodies. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this bad boy?
Sure. This is Defenders of Last Stand. It's the post-apocalyptic version, I guess I would say, of the Defenders of the Realm. While it's very different from Defenders of the Realm, if you know how to play Defenders of the Realm, you basically know how to play this one, although a lot of things have been expanded and changed to fit into the post-apocalyptic world. One of the biggest differences is there's scenario-based, so you actually can win this game without defeating the leaders. You can build a cargo plane and fly away. You can build a giant laser beam and just start blasting them, which I love to do. It's just fun to shoot laser beams at them. So, and then there's the classic scenario where you don't get any of those special abilities. You just have to kind of defeat the guys. So It's got 3 scenarios in the game. Huge amount of replayability, but just a ton of stuff in the game in terms of story and miniatures and all that type of thing. So, you want to take a look at it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And it's a big one. Nice big.
Now, this is a production copy.
This is a production copy. Nice big rule book with type that won't make you go blind. I personally appreciate that. It's got a board. Probably one of the biggest changes that we brought about to the board itself is, we didn't put the circles on it. We simply divided the land. So the land is divided. The land's divided by either dotted lines, or straight lines. Straight lines are areas you can't cross. The dotted lines you can move across normally. The same works for the enemies. So when the enemies, overrun and spread, they wouldn't spread down into here. They're going to spread out into those other areas. So it uses a lot of the same concept. There's a lot of locations that are heavily radiated in the course of the game. If you end your turn there, you have a chance of suffering radiation, and if you suffer radiation, you will mutate. Now, about 80% of the mutations are good, like growing an extra arm will help you in battle, or hard skin will give you a defense, or laser beam eyes. It's always good to get laser beam eyes. I think Cyclops would agree with that in X-Men. But if you mutate too far, you take 5 points of mutation, well, you will end up joining, I guess I should show the non-painted version. You'll end up joining Puke's army, which leads an army of mutating creatures. So she has a very different army than the others. Only 8 miniatures make up Puke's troops, and if all of these miniatures are on the board, Puke jumps into Last Stand if it's activated. So you have to keep them under control. And these are like mini monsters. There's actually little cards you draw each time you go into combat with one of Puke's troops that defines what you have to do to beat them.
Gotcha. And so here, let's show off some of these other miniatures here. These are the player colors, right?
Those are not the player colors. Those are the invading armies.
Okay.
So what you got right there is you've got Bama, and Bama is the classic road warrior leader. He's got a bunch of motorcycle minions that are troops that follow him. Then you've got Frank. Frank is the leader. You can see much on that. It looks much better when it's painted. Frank is the leader. The techies are all. They throw you out when you get to be about 20. What they love is technology. Nothing is changed in the game. And by design, Defenders of the Realm. The minions the minions and the enemies attack from all sides.
Okay.
But in this game, they actually are located specifically. So, for example, Bama's troops, because they're motorcycle people, everywhere there's a road on the board, those guys will appear on the roads.
Okay.
So you can pretty much tell where they're going to go. They're going to come from the south, they're going to move up on the roads. And the techies, since they're always looking for technology, they're going to pop up inside of the cities. So they pop up in cities, they collect technology. And what happens is, he's very weak at the beginning, the easiest of all the leaders to defeat. But he's gaining technology as the game goes on because his people keep getting him more technology in the course of the game. And the problem is you don't know what technology he has. They're face-down cards. So ultimately, when you face him, he may be much stronger than you think he was going to be at the very beginning.
Got it.
Then you've got Bramble. I'll put the painted one up there also. And Bramble, I love these. Bramble is a leader of the Earthers. They're an Amazon race. They never mutate. They believe that the world was created for them, and they intend to take it. They're nomadic, and they sweep across the northern side of the board, heading toward the city. So they're going to infest that top section of the board, moving across and then down into Last Stand. So,
okay, cool. And then let's show off some dice here. I see some
there's
some regular dice, but there's also a bunch of custom dice as well,
there's
right?
custom dice to do different things. So basically, the yellow dice, every die is like Defenders of the Realm. When you're attacking, you will roll dice of the color that you're attacking, and so the game has customized dice for each different group, and then it's got specialty dice for adventures, because one of the things this game has that didn't exist in Defenders is there'll be a deck of cards, and you'll have an adventure. Whatever's on the top of this deck will be the adventure that's active. So if I go to the Cacti Forest here,
okay,
I will end up having this particular adventure. It also shows you the #1 skill that's required there. So for this one, it's adventuring. Each character has 4 different skills. So they've got radiation resistance, adventuring, technology, basically their understanding of our technology,
okay,
and scavenging.
Okay.
Because another piece of the game is that you will be going to locations and digging up these scavenge tokens. And because of the scavenge tokens, you're going to get items, you're going to get things you need to build a giant laser or a cargo plane or whatever.
Right.
So that becomes part of the game also, is going around and scavenging the different areas. So there's a lot going on in the game, but once again, the underlying piece of it is Defenders of the Realm. So if you know how to play Defenders of the Realm, you're going to know some of this,
right,
at least in terms of card play, in terms of action points, and in terms of how you fight the enemy. Outside of that, it's all very different feeling and game, because it's built in this post-apocalyptic world.
Are all the scenarios in here cooperative?
Everything is cooperative in the game.
Okay.
Now, we did talk about, this game was actually on Kickstarter, and we did talk about on Kickstarter doing a trader game, a trader scenario.
Right.
And I actually did design a trader scenario. The publisher decided not to put it in, simply because the game's hard enough without having a trader.
Okay.
But I think that it will be, probably put out there at some point for
something down the road.
Down the road, it'll be put out for people who want to play a harder game at some point. That will provide the trader scenario as well as a few other scenarios. But
it's like a hidden trader is the idea, right?
And actually, it goes. Mine is a little bit different than the hidden trader. What happens is everybody will draw a card at the beginning, and instead of one just saying you're the trader, you're not the trader, you'll get a card that tells you a specific thing you have to do.
Okay.
Like you might have been kicked out of this guy's clan,
okay,
and you want him to win, and you only win if he wins. So helping all these others doesn't work for you. Making sure he wins does work for you.
Got it.
But somebody else might actually be loyal to this guy, so he's actually trying to help him and stop him. So it becomes kind of this push-pull type of thing, in between. And then the rest of us, we might be just loyal, okay?
Right,
so there's a lot of bits and pieces. Exposing the traitor doesn't really end the problem. It just ends their ability to help them, because the traitors will have a choice each turn to do one thing, okay, before they resolve all the other stuff. So they can control a little bit of what's going on by that one thing they do.
Okay.
And if you identify that he's loyal to him, you can eliminate him doing anything that actually helps him.
Right.
Okay. But that doesn't stop the fact that this guy over here still may be helping this one here.
Sure.
But even if you're not a traitor, you have to do something, that's doing something in the game. So that's kind of the way that's going to work. So yeah, we felt it was a little too involved to put in the base game, but hopefully we'll see that down the road, as well as a couple of other new scenarios and more adventure cards and that type of thing.
Cool.
So that's basically the game.
You said this was a final production copy. Is this available already?
It is not available. It's shipping right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's printed. It's shipping. We actually hope to introduce this. We hope that we have it shipped to the Kickstarter people and are able to introduce this for sales at Dice Tower Con. That's kind of the goal now. Anybody that's had to deal with shipping and customs and all that kind of stuff knows that goal is always a challenge.
Doesn't always work out. Yeah.
But if you look at the timeline right now, it's possible. Okay, and it's probable unless it just gets held up somewhere.
Okay.
But I'm always very cautious about that, because
you don't know.
There's a strike, or there's this, or something gets caught in customs, and you just can't control that stuff.
Yeah, too much is out of your hands when it comes to that stuff. Cool. Do we have any questions over there, Tom?
Any information about Fate of the Elder Gods?
Fate of the Elder Gods, yeah.
Right.
I actually spent the last 3 days working with Chris Kirkman and Daryl Lauder on Fate of the Elder Gods.
Now tell me a little bit about what this is.
Okay,
catch me up.
Fate of the Elder Gods, we actually came up with the idea a year ago at Unpub. It was like 3 in the morning, and Daryl Lauder says, I really want to design a game with you. And I said, what kind of game do you want to do? He said, I want to do a Lovecraft type game. And he said, what if we kind of did an opposite version of Arkham Horror? And I said, well, I don't want to do an opposite adventure version where you're cultists. I said, but I would like to do some kind of competitive, version of where you're trying to summon an Elder God. So we came up with this idea of actually creating this clock that has 6 locations on it.
Okay.
You have you control one piece that moves around the board, and wherever that piece, you basically play a spell card that creates this astral alignment. Okay, so I play a comet where I'm at. It moves a piece to the comet location. And the comet location, for example, is Streets of Arkham. So I'm at Streets of Arkham, and now I do whatever's on Streets of Arkham. So Streets of Arkham, I put one of my guys there. Every time you put a token down, you also bring an investigator token onto that location.
Okay.
If there's 3 investigators at a location, they move on to you. Okay? So everybody has their own Elder God that they're trying to summon, and you have your own little cult that's trying to summon them, and you're putting your cultists onto the board and putting investigators out. You're bringing investigators over, and at certain points, if you go to the other world, you can try to summon your Elder God. Okay. And the way the game works is the first one that can summon their Elder God wins, or at the same time, the investigators are trying to shut you down by putting Elder signs on you.
Okay.
So if somebody gets all the Elder signs, fills up their track with Elder signs, then it becomes the one with the least Elder signs wins.
Got it.
All right.
Got it.
So it can be like, so if you're way out of it, you're just trying to drive the other people up on Elder signs so that you can win the game. So there's this counterbalance that takes place. But you can summon monsters and bring them into play. There's just a lot of different things that go on in the game. There's a museum. You can go get artifacts that help you. There's a library. You can go get spells. But basically, when you land on a location, there'll be several cards there where people played to move from that spot.
Right.
And those will create an astral sign, like it might be a comet, a star, an eclipse moon. And on your spells, you have icons on the front of them. And if you have that combination where you're at, you can cast that spell. So you can either cast it face down, so you can trigger it later, or you can cast it face up and immediately do it. If you cast it face down, then that astral sign there becomes part of your tableau to cast spells in the future. So now I've got a comet in front of me, so I can use this comet, I can use these here. which lets me cast more spells. So it's got a really interesting mechanic around that. We play tested and altered and changed it. We spent 3 days together. We must have played it 21 times. Playing time's about 45 minutes. You know, it's really nice playing time. You can play 2-player version as well. There's 2 tokens that move in this 2-player version.
Okay.
And the deal is you can't move to where another token is. So, you know, it limits your places you can go. So, yeah, I think actually knowing what you like, I think you'll like this one quite a bit because there's a lot of strategy, a lot of thinking in it. Then there's still a lot of fun, and it really carries the whole Lovecraft, you know, feeling to it. You can go, each person has, like I say, an ancient one they're trying to summon. That has a blessing that comes from that ancient one. So when you go to the ceremony, it gives you the blessing. So for example, you can turn Cthulhu loose on a location and just watch him start stomping the other people's cultists, and, you know, or you can be Shub-Niggurath, for example, and you can summon monsters, you know, as your blessing. So they all have their special blessing. You know, or you can be Sasatua and actually start eating the other people's cultists. You move them onto your board and then you feed on them later on and kind of remove them from the game. So it's going to have, I think we made 12 Elder Gods, you know, and I think the base game's going to have 8 in it. It's going to be published by Greater Than Games, and it's going to be, for those who want to demo it, it's going to be at Origins. I'll, of course, have a copy at Dice Tower. It's going to also be at Gen Con, and Gen Con is when it's going to go up on Kickstarter.
Okay.
And you know, hopefully the people really support it, because this one is really a fun game that I think fits a lot of people will like this, because it's got a little bit of, you can plan, you know, you can strategize, a lot of things that Euro people like, how you can, you know, really kind of build some combos and things like that, as well as it's got, you know, when you roll dice that have elder signs and Cthulhu heads and, you know, tentacles on them to do different things when you activate certain locations. So it's got some of that aspect too. So it's a lot of fun.
We got some questions here. What game got you into the hobby?
Okay, do I need to repeat the question here, just in case they don't hear you? So the question was, what game got you, Richard, into the hobby?
You know, I'm going to go all the way back to Avalon Hill. You know, I'm old, first of all, so you know, I remember when, if there was 5 games that came out in a year, that was a lot of games. I'm talking about in the hobby market, okay? Right. And out of those games, like 3 or 4 of them were going to be Avalon Hill.
That's true.
So I kind of came in with Avalon Hill's pennant race, because, you know, I grew up with 2 brothers and we all like baseball, so, you know, pennant race kind of became the pinnacle, and that was my first, I guess, hobby game, because it was an Avalon Hill game that was published at the time, and from there I just started buying, you know, everything that Avalon Hill published, and so you get into Panzer, you know, Panzer Leader, and, you know, you start down that, and it's like war game. Then they would put out something like, you know, that had nothing to do with a war game, and you're like, wow, what is this, you know? And you started seeing that, you know, there were different kind of games that were coming out, and looking back, a lot of those games were not great, but they had a certain amount of greatness to them, though, because nobody was looking at games that way, you know, nobody was thinking that way. It was not Monopoly, it was not, you know, of course Risk, we all played Risk, but it wasn't that, it was something else. So that's how I got into it, and from there it just progressed, and you know, after college I discovered role-playing, you know, and I wasn't ever really big in Dungeons and Dragons, but I did get introduced to Call of Cthulhu, and that was obviously a huge influence for me, because that's what spawned, you know, I got to make a board game I can play without having a keeper, because I'm by myself too often, so I want to be able to play it solitaire or with people, and that kind of prompted the whole thing.
That's cool.
All right, are there any game mechanics that you may have used in your earlier designs, but you would shy away from them now?
Okay, so the question is, are there any game mechanics or mechanisms that you have used in earlier games that you would shy away from now?
Yeah, roll and move I'm probably not going to do anymore. I mean, I probably won't do roll.
What games had roll and move?
The original Arkham Horror had roll and move. You rolled 2 dice and you moved the number that you rolled, okay? So going back to, now that was 1987, the game was pretty progressive, you know, at the time, but roll and move, I hadn't thought beyond that process at that time.
Right.
And it's funny because one of the things I did this week with Chris Kirkman at my house, after we got finished playing Fate one night, he goes, I want to play the original Arkham Horror. So we broke it out, and I remember everybody's like, oh, this game is so long, and and I said, look, I'm just going to tell you right off the bat, it's got roll and move, it's got this stuff. To be honest with you, we had a blast. The whole game was over in an hour. And I'm like, see how long this game is? It's like super long, But, the roll, I mean, if you're willing to go back in time and accept the mechanics for what they were back then, it's just a lot of fun. But no, I would not think of probably putting roll and move into a game today. So, but beyond that, I'm not really a mechanics person. I mean, there are brilliant mechanics people out there. I have the utmost respect for them. I try to pick and choose mechanics that fit the theme.
Right.
And I'm a theme guy.
You're trying to find the thing that tells your story the best.
Right. Give me a theme, and I'll work around that theme.
Yeah.
So,
what else you got?
When you designed the original Arkham Horror, did you have influence to do a cooperative game, or was it something you just decided to do?
So when you
co-op games
you designed the first Arkham Horror, did you have an influence to do the game as a co-op, or where did that come from?
Yeah, I did want to design as a co-op. Like I say, when I first designed that game, the whole idea was we just had our second child. Everybody that has children knows how much time that starts taking. And my wife was an ER nurse, so she worked night shift. I worked day shift. We put them in a daycare, and about 2-hour difference in between or whatever. So I came home, fed the kids, put them to bed, and I got nothing to do, okay? So I like gaming, but you can't have people over when you're taking care of kids and all that kind of stuff. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to make an Arkham Horror I can play on a board. And since Arkham Horror was a co-op, it just was a natural approach to make it a co-op. Didn't really think about it at the time. I just thought,
everybody works together.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna think in terms of how the Call of Cthulhu game worked, and just do that into a board. And that was really the whole process. So I just kind of stumbled into it. It's like most good inventions. You kind of stumble into them.
Right.
So that's kind of how we got there.
Cool.
What was the influence for your first designed game?
No.
What was the influence for your first designed game?
Well, if you're talking about the first game I designed or the first game that I sold and designed, the first game I sold and designed was actually Arkham Horror. So Call of Cthulhu was that.
Right.
Beyond that, when I was I designed games way back when I was a teenager. I mean, we'd go see a James Bond movie, and I'd make a James Bond game.
Right.
We would, I started fooling with doing sports games, baseball games, hockey games, that type of thing. So I made lots of little games. None of these games ever published, but that's kind of where you kind of cut your teeth in making sure that a game is actually playable. You make it, you play it. We had a lot of fun. I remember I made this one James Bond game that encompassed all his movies up to what was it, Live and Let Die or something, and basically you would go around, you would fight, you'd have car chases, you do all this stuff, and you would gather these scene cards. So the opening, the middle, and then once you had enough of these cards, there was a path you could go on, and they were associated to the different villains in the movies. Then you go down this path and try to defeat that villain, okay? It was a simple game, but we all were teenagers, so we had a good time playing it,
Right.
So that's my first real games, is just making games that were playable as teenagers and from that. But Arkham Horror was my first published game, so.
Yeah, taking influence from all the movies and all the media, I think really makes a lot of sense, because it's so much what you do, driving the theme first.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And that's kind of how I got to where I am. I'm all theme. People who really like deep theme like my games.
Right.
And I try to marry the best mechanics with it. But there are brilliant mechanic people out there, and I know that I'm not one of those. I've had the pleasure to work with several of them. I mean, Kevin Wilson, fantastic on mechanics. I've worked with Corey a little bit on Eldridge. He's incredible on mechanics. I mean, you look around, there's a lot of incredible mechanic people out there.
What's your favorite game you haven't designed?
That's interesting. asking, what's your favorite game you haven't designed?
That's a tough one.
Yeah, that
you
is
know,
tough.
It's the thing that makes it tough being a game designer is you don't really get to play as many games. You get to look at the rules, you get to analyze them. But I think you know, I really enjoy almost any kind of thematic game. Okay, I thought Descent, especially the second edition,
right.
I really enjoyed that particular game. Once again, I lean toward co-ops. And so what I do is I kind of like playing games that anything that's got theme around it. But that's one that, and I don't really play it very often. But I do like what they did with that and how they make that work. I like. I'm trying to think. I've got a stack of games in my office that, you know, all the fantasy flight. I tell you, one of the games I really like that I played recently has been the, and it harkens back to what's probably my all-time favorite game, which was Advanced Hero Quest and what is it, Warhammer Quest.
Right.
Those two games probably for me were like Mecca. Okay.
Right.
When they came out, they were beautiful. They were cooperative play. You didn't have to have a keeper. You know, they were just, you know, incredibly built that way. So those were. So now that Fantasy Flight put out that little card game, Warhammer Quest card game. It's. I actually get enough time to play a game.
Have you played it?
I have played it, and I do enjoy it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually haven't played that one yet, but it is sitting on my shelf. I want to get it played.
I do enjoy it. I think you know, if as long as you have an imagination and connect the pieces, you can picture the whole thing of being in this dungeon room and how these monsters are coming at you. So I thought they did a very good job with it. But what I really like about it is I can play it. Okay, I mean it's 30 minutes, 35 minutes, 40 minutes, and it can hit the table. Those other games, which I do still have in my collection, they don't hit the table too often because they're like 3 hours, 4 hours, you know, 5 hours.
Yeah, it's harder to get longer games to the table these days. It's just, I mean, now, you know, like you said, you're busy with your own designs, and it just doesn't work out. What do you think of? You've been doing cooperative games for a long time. What do you think of that arc of that cooperative games have had? I mean, there's been a few games that have really risen to the top, like obviously Arkham Horror and Pandemic was a big, you know, was a big peak in the co-op spectrum. Where do you think we are right now with co-op? Do you think it's had a good progression? Has it stalled at any point?
No, it's not. No, it's not stalled. I think it's going even higher. I think for a couple different reasons. First of all, I think the gamer base is growing.
Sure.
It's getting much broader. People that you know never would think would be into gaming are starting to get into gaming.
Yeah.
You know, I was in a barbershop not long ago. The girl cutting my hair is like, "Oh, you design games? I played. You know, I got to play." And she named a game, you know, she picked up at Target. You know, so Settlers of Catan, I think she said. You know, which and we're like, you know, it's a fantastic game. Have you played that? You know, and so I'm hearing more and more. Somebody at the dentist told me, "Oh, we just bought a game." You know, and so the games are spreading out there more. And I think with that, you're going to get more and more variety of players. But I also think we're at a point where people will keep playing competitive games, but I think people also like the whole co-op idea.
It's so easy to get someone who is not a gamer into a cooperative game. You know, you don't have to worry about, oh, do you like confrontation?
Right.
Do you not want to be picked on? I know some people don't like competitive games as they're learning the game because they feel like they're at a disadvantage. You know?
Right.
So they won't try it at all.
I think it's growing. I think we'll see a bigger percentage like co-op games. I don't think anybody's going to go just co-op. That's, you know, I don't even recommend. I like to play all games too.
Sure.
I don't want to limit myself to just co-op.
Right.
But I think there's a big audience for it. I think families. It's really good with families, especially with kids. You know, because it's win-lose together. Then they don't have to go through that. You know, especially if that age group where they cry if they lose and stuff. You know, they don't have to go through any of that stuff in a co-op. So I think it works really good as far as that's concerned.
And they really run the gamut now too, where you have something like Eldritch Door, which is a big, epic, sprawling game, and then like the Grizzled. You know, the Grizzled is a little card game, deck of cards, couple tokens, and it's a co-op game with a nice amount of tension too. You know, so there's just a lot there that has been mined. You know, from this idea of let's just all work together.
Right, and I think we'll see more and more, especially card games that are co-op, because I think there's an audience for those. If you can get the price point down in the card games where more and more people can play them, I think you have once again, the audience is growing out there. In all the games it's growing, and I think that's one of the positive things in our industry right now is that, there's a huge growth and a huge acceptability, and I think a lot of that has come across because people play games on their cell phones, they play games on their iPads, and shows like Big Bang Theory make it okay.
Yeah. Well, awesome, man. Good talking to you. I think we're going to shut this down. Are we moving on to someone else?
Sculptors coming on.
Get them on here.
Sculptors.
It's been fun.
Good talking to you.
All right, take care.
All right, I'm going to give this over to Sam as well, I imagine.
Sam will run this one.
All right.
Sam is in the game. Sam, you're on.
Sam wants to talk about sculpts. Here you go, my friend.
I'll take this one, I guess.
All right. Hello, guys. You're still just going, Tom, yes?
Yes. If you guys can just sit right here, and we'll put that in between one of them, I think. Put him on one and have it kind of in between on his shoulder, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever you want. I think it's better if we'll just clip this on you, and you'll be picked up by both. All right. Okay.
Talk to you guys later.
All right, let's
Thanks,
see you
Richard.
back. Here,
Appreciate
just
it.
flip this on like this.
Enjoy it. Up to you guys.
Arnaud and Patrick. Patrick. Is it with a hard K at the end, or is it a Patrice?
It's a K.
K? Okay, Patrick and Arnaud. All right.
Okay, there you go. Cool, guys. Have fun.
Set? Can you make sure that the framing on this one is... I did already. Oh, you did? Okay.
Is it okay?
Yeah, I think he's gonna be able to be caught by both of us, so it'll be fine. So are we on? We're good? We're good? We're on? Okay. So hey everybody, this is Sam, and I'm with Patrick and Arnaud. They are sculptors, digital sculptor and real hands-on sculptor. Not that you're not a real sculptor.
That's okay.
So kind of walk us through the process of concept to product that actually is inside the box, if you can do that, or at least maybe just your part of that when you go through this.
Someone sent me a concept. There's a first concept artist.
Okay.
Creatures, characters, color or just black and white.
Okay.
I'm going to deal with it.
Okay.
I think it's the only thing I know. It's at the end we have the sculpture have to be the same,
Okay.
like the concept.
Right.
With digital, I'm using ZBrush. ZBrush.
Okay, ZBrush.
It's mostly, it's a great, for me it's a great software.
Okay.
First, we start with a board, just a board, like a digital board, and it's like a clay.
Right.
We have different tools.
Yeah.
It's called brush. You can use brush, smooth, to split textures,
Right.
and at the end it's have to be sculpted.
Okay. So basically an artist from pen and paper, paint and paper, whatever, sends you what they have conceptualized, and then you render it into a 3D object with your program. And then you email that
Yeah, I can email it
to somebody like Patrick.
No, so someone to a printer, 3D printer.
3D printer, okay. So it gets 3D printed before you see it?
Well, the only difference between us two is he go through digital. So at the end, the master is 3D printed with 3D printer.
Right.
But on my side, it's traditionally sculpted. So at the end, I have already the master. And
Okay.
this is this master that goes into production.
I see.
This is the 3D printed piece that goes in production. So, but at the end, it's
So maybe I just haven't seen the professional 3D printers, but
I have some, but not.
how close in quality is something that's 3D printed as opposed to something that you would do?
Well, it depends of what kind of 3D printer you use.
Correct.
There's different kinds. It's the one we use. It's the high quality, very high definition.
Top of the line.
Yeah, it's a dentist 3D printer.
Okay.
Make the things almost perfect.
All right.
You don't have to send it. It's ready to use as a master because it's still a master.
Okay.
When you take off all of the post to use in the part of the print, it's ready to use.
Okay.
As a master.
Wow.
And this master,
What do you mean by master?
it's the original to make a mold.
So then you use that one to make a mold,
Yeah.
and that's when you start pumping them out.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. So
So at some point we are on the same
two
result.
avenues.
Yeah.
Two avenues that lead into the same street.
Yes,
Gotcha.
at the end, that's the same physical piece that will go in production.
Okay. So you're just kind of digital, and he's hands-on.
Yeah, it's a physical. Yeah.
Physical, right.
Physical.
So what's the length of time between, how long does it take you to come up with a master as opposed to you? Is there a large difference in time? Is it faster for digital?
For main characters, it's the same time.
Okay.
We spend a lot of our details, but if I have to do a declination of these characters, it's going to be easy for me because I'm going to use, it's like a copy paste.
Right.
That's the thing with the digital. It's easier. It's comfortable. It's I want to use the same shoulder, like armor, up in the same figures. It's a copy and paste.
Okay.
He has to do
Everything by hand. Yeah.
That's where I'm faster because I don't have to redo everything. It's just using some pieces.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's easier to mass produce something with the digital format.
For a troop, if there's a different soldier but with the same outfit,
Right.
It's just have to change.
So is that what you find? You do more mass groups of troops?
That's the advantage with the
Digital?
Digital.
Yeah.
That's why I'm using it because it's easier.
So Patrick, you would do more like captains and commanders and stuff like that?
That's usually what I'm asked to do.
Cool.
Yeah, the big monsters or individual guys that are more, maybe with more details or stuff like that.
So I know you told me earlier that you can't talk about everything that you've done.
No, because
because it's still in production.
Yeah, I don't know if
Is there anything that you can talk about? What sculpts have you done for that you can talk about? Same question for you. Well, that's why I'm trying to face toward him.
I have worked on the last Zombicide Black Plague.
Yeah.
For example. I have worked on the guest box from the Kopinski brothers.
Okay.
So I did the sculpt for this piece.
Okay.
And most of my time I work a lot for the Dark Age game.
Dark Age?
Dark Age miniature. So since 5 years now.
Yeah.
So I have done quite a lot of models for them.
Okay.
And currently we are redesigning some old pieces.
Okay.
From the old Dark Age miniatures.
Okay.
And turning back with a new quality, I would say, or standard that we can bring in miniatures.
Gotcha. And Arnaud.
Well, I think it's on Facebook, so it's not a secret. Not that I'm working on it, but the game.
Yeah.
It's a Godfather.
Okay.
So
Terrifying,
there's
the new
no yet
Terrifying
figures on anywhere. There's no, but you can see some concept. So I think I did all of them.
Okay. Yeah. All of the concepts, all of the models for
All the models for
Godfather.
It's
Cool.
about 20 figures.
Yeah. Sweet. How long did that take you?
2 months.
2 months. Really? That's it. That seems really fast, actually.
Digital is fast.
Digital is fast. 20 models. How long does it take for you?
20 motor, it will take something like 4 months.
Almost twice as long.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
It depends. That's the same. It depends the details on the type of miniature, because some miniature you can do in 2 days, but some you have to spend 1 week.
Right.
I'm used to my clients usually ask me for very complex miniatures, so it's not often that I am less than 1 week to do a model.
So where were you guys trained? I suppose that you went to, did you go to a college, a trade school? Was this just something you were apprenticed, or explain that a little bit?
On my side, I was not at all in that business before. I was a mechanical engineer, so nothing to do with that. But I just I was sculpting for a hobby.
For a hobby, really?
And 5 years ago, I decided to quit my job to move to that. But so I'm fully autodidact.
Okay.
So I just learn everything by myself.
Cool. Arnaud, same thing for you?
Something for you 20 years ago.
Okay.
I was in Paris. That's where I met the Rackham team. Rackham.
Okay.
Yeah, Rackham. I was one of the first. The first team of Rackham sculptor.
Okay.
For 2 years, and after that I quit and became a freelancer.
Okay.
Yeah. I did different things before I really back to the sculpture. Mostly digital now. It's always only digital.
Okay. Yeah. So you started off with what Patrick is doing, but now you're doing digital only?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, I quit the minis industry for almost 15 years.
15?
Yeah, I did something else. Artistic, comics. And digital make me back on the track. I think it's that's why I'm back.
Cool. Very cool. All right. So are you guys like solely Cool Mini? Do you work solely for Cool Mini or not, or do you, like you said earlier, do you freelance to other companies as well?
Different companies.
Different companies. So just if they contact you, you go through a contract with them or something to that effect.
Yeah, I'm a freelancer too. It's true that most of my time I work for Cool Mini, but I'm a freelancer too.
I work a lot for.
Oh yeah, you don't have to solely do them. If somebody else contacts you, they can do it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Patrick, Arnaud, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll see you later.
Bye, see you.
We'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for joining us.
Where'd he go?
All right, we're going to switch it up. Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much, fellas.
And here we got the designer of Xeno show.
Okay. Why don't you do it?
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just going to sit here for a second. Talk by myself. You want to take the other mic off there, Tom?
Oh yeah.
You don't look dorky or anything, but you really do. Okay, where is it? Okay, so we're going to be bringing on in just a minute here, folks, the designer. I assume it's off on purpose. Tom is cracking down the designer. He was wearing that mic because when he switched from one camera to another, he needed that mic. But I think he figured out how to keep one live, how to keep one audio stream.
No, I like you.
Hey, caught your dance on camera.
Have a seat.
Well, we're getting ready. They're going to
Never mind, get out of here.
You're over here with this mic.
That's Susie.
Nope.
How you doing, man?
You're stuck with me, baby.
See you again. Good to see you. There you go. So we just go here. Go on a little help. So it's not rubbing up against the shirt. It's like mommy pinning the mittens to the jacket. You're gonna be fine, sweetie. Okay, there you go.
When you get a chance, Z, we'll put that camera on the stuff.
This one.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's introduce yourself to the camera and tell everyone who you are.
Hey guys, I'm Michael Schnall, designer of XenoShift and a senior developer for CMoN or Not.
So what have you developed besides XenoShift? I know you're a designer on that, but what else have you worked on?
Rum and Bones, and then some of our miniature lines, Dark Age and Wrath of Kings.
Yes, I remember Rum and Bones. The first time you showed it to me, I was not as keen on it. But it changed a lot since that time.
It's changed quite a bit since that time and the time before. That was 2 years ago, wasn't it, Tom?
Yes, 2 years ago,
Time
exactly.
flies.
Well, actually, Rum and Bones has changed since it came out on Kickstarter. Can you tell us what some of the major changes have been?
So for Rum and Bones, geez, there's a lot of changes to go over, but basically it was a matter of just making it a better game. One of the big changes, we did alternating activations. Instead of you're activating all your guys, I'm activating all my guys. We introduced a leveling system for the heroes, so now you're purchasing powers of coins instead of using them as a resource. You're using them as basic experience. New crews, new abilities, rebalances across the board, and new victory conditions as well. Now, the objectives gives you additional coins, gives you additional victory points. Killing heroes gets you victory points as well. Basically, every action you're taking in the game is moving you toward the game ending in some fashion.
Well, what if I already have the original game, which I do? Can I play with the new rules?
So we've released an upgrade kit. It contains every single hero that we've released so far, all 70 heroes, new tide decks for all the old factions.
Do we have 70 heroes?
70 heroes. So even if you don't have the old Kickstarter stuff and whatnot, you can get the hero cards and all that for this set as well. Again, we're making a
Did you know there was 70?
70 heroes, yep.
I don't have 70. I think I have like 40 maybe.
So there's basically 10 per crew, so 40 in the 4 core box crews, and then we had additional 30 mercenaries past that. Some being Kickstarter exclusive, some not, but regardless of them being Kickstarter exclusive or not, you purchase the upgrade kit, which are going to keep it very low. We're actually selling that for basic cost because this is not a for-profit item. We want you guys to pick this up and just move forward, but you're going to get all the content for that.
All right. Well, let's get back to the XenoShift. This is XenoShift Dreadmire, which is coming out later this year.
Yes.
What did you say? Like September, I think you said?
September is our estimated delivery date for the Kickstarter, so October or so you'll start seeing in stores.
So Essen. I always laugh when okay. So this is, I played this yesterday, and it is essentially the same basic game as the original XenoShift with some minor changes. This is not like Rum and Bones, you mentioned major changes.
Right.
This is more some minor things that have been
This is a
tweaked
full
and such.
standalone expansion, so you can incorporate this with the first XenoShift Onslaught. You can play this by itself as a complete standalone experience.
Right, and so it introduces new aliens. These aliens are not buggy, they're more, well, they still look like bugs. So they're like jungle bugs, I guess.
This is the Brood. This is a swamp planet. Basically, anything you might think that you can see in a swamp or kind of a tropic area, that's what you're going to be fighting on this planet. And the way we've introduced this is the way we're moving forward with our expansions is that each time you play the game, you're going to pick a different planet for Nortec to be exploring / destroying the ecosystem of. So the first game you're playing against the Hive, this time it's the Brood. So you'll pick which enemy you're going to fight against, and that's going to have which decks you're going to use. But each one of them also is going to have different effects as well. In the Kickstarter, we released another expansion called Inferno, where you're actually on a fire planet because attacking the sun is obviously a smart idea. So,
So wait, this is an expansion that's coming with this?
Yes. It's a small box expansion that contains a new set of enemies and a couple new items. It's not a big box like this one.
And you're fighting on the sun?
No, it was just an exaggeration. It is a hellscape magma planet, though. But it's not quite a sun. You can stand on it and probably won't die immediately.
Some designers love people. This one does not. I played this game. He hates players.
I believe that people are only made better via the crucible of strife, and that is what this is about. This is making you a better person.
By making me weep?
No, it's through strife and just turning you into rock and diamond, building that resolve.
Now this game comes with completely new cards for almost everything.
Yes.
And so you can mix and match if you played the first one, you can mix and match the heroes that you can buy, or I guess they're not heroes because they never actually go anywhere. They die so quickly, don't get attached to them.
We do have 8 new troop types for you here, including a new Wave 1 troop, the Research Officer. And we've actually revamped the original Ranger from Onslaught as well. So if you're incorporating the two, you'll use the new Ranger because he's a little bit better balanced. So now we've got some additional options for you, Wave 1. We've got 3 new troop types for Wave 2, 3 new troop types for Wave 3, and 20 new items for you across all the divisions.
And these items are mixable and matchable with the first set.
Yes.
The only thing is that you're going to play with either the new aliens or the old aliens.
Yep.
That's the main
And you could mix those. I would just say it's only going to be about like 80%, it's going to be a little wonky if you do that, but there's no reason you couldn't do, the nightmare scenario where you're playing on the jungle, hellscape, bug-infested planet.
As if the game wasn't bad enough. And the reason for that is the new aliens come with basically the weather of the planet is going to change for good or well, never good, just always bad.
Sometimes it's not as bad. The ecosystem in the Dreadmire is one that the weather is constantly shifting. So each round you're going to flip over a weather card that's going to dictate the weather that's happening around, whether it's going to be fog, or it's going to be monsooning, or it's going to be nighttime. And those don't have any effects on their own, but enemies and certain items you have will be boosted by the weather. So for example, this ambush mantis, he's pretty nasty normally, but when it's fog out there and he can get concealed, then he disappears and actually moves to the end of the lane and starts sniping off your guys.
Yeah, I hate this guy already. To be fair, I hate them all. But I played it. It's very fun. It's a nice. If you played the first one, you'll like this one. It's not really going to change your mind either way, whether you like the first one or not. This one is very similar, but I enjoyed the weather changing.
There was one other mechanic that we changed, and that was to kind of streamline the experience a bit, because there was one thing that was happening with the first game is that basically the first round of each wave, people were getting hit very hard because they just weren't. They couldn't catch up to the enemies as fast as they were coming out. So we made a small change to the way the enemies deploy, where first round of the wave you fight 3 enemies, then 4 enemies in the second wave round, and then the third round of the wave you actually guaranteed to fight a boss. So the bosses don't randomly show up now. It's much more kind of like a video game progression level where there's a gradual curve where the end of the round, the wave, is going to be the hardest part versus some point randomly you're going to hit a spike because a boss shows up.
Yeah, I really like that change actually. That was adding the bosses in at the end. They're still pretty difficult bosses and all.
It also allowed me to make the bosses a little tougher because now you know they're going to come at the end. So, that's your final challenge. That should be your big barrier, and you should get that sense of accomplishment for getting through them.
Now, you said each planet we do, so that gives me the idea that we're going to see other versions of Xenoshift in the future.
Well, like I said, we have the Immolation expansion, which you're on that fire planet, and that has a completely new mechanic, which is actually
you burn and you die.
Well, yes, but
you burn, become a better person, and then you die.
Yeah, you're being forged in the crucible. The way that one works is basically you have a number of fire that you're having to keep track of as well, and the enemies actually consume it to gain bonuses. So not only are you kind of having to worry about the enemies, but you're having to worry about how hot the fires are getting, and you have to devote resources to quelling that down, or actually increasing it for the sake of getting some bonuses yourself. But then you have the consequence of the enemies are getting stronger as well. It's all about choice, and
So, is there anything else you're working on designing that we'll see soon?
There is, but I can't talk about just yet.
That's garbage.
We'll see how the weekend goes, Tom, and you'll be the first person I let if we let go on this.
Alrighty. Well, thanks for showing us those. Oh, questions. That's right.
Who decided to spell the game that way?
So that was obviously in the future, I's have been replaced by Y's. Sorry, that means there's a typo here. That should be Dreadmire with a Y. I'm sorry, we should have kept it consistent.
Are you serious?
No, he just realized that his thing was Balderdash.
I just realized Balderdash. It's all sci-fi and techie and hip and cool and other buzzwords.
We're just saying that when I say Xenoshift, I didn't have to say, by the way, that's spelled Xenoshyft. However, there's a possibility that this will show up in my top 10 X games when I do them.
And now you know why we did it. Actually, there's a silent Y in the front.
Do we have any other questions?
Not so far, not right now.
Well, okay. Well, you know what we're going to do then?
What was the game that got you into the hobby?
So I've actually been gaming all my life, but I'll tell you the thing that made me enter a game store for the first time was the Magic the Gathering Portal commercials that were on TV back in the mid-90s.
Whoa, I remember those.
I don't remember.
They showed people fighting in an arena type thing,
yeah,
right?
and it was Magic the Gathering Portal. And I was like, well, what is this? And Toys R Us didn't have it, Target didn't have it. I actually had to find the game store, and that was my first introduction to gaming.
How old were you at the time?
8, 9, something down in there.
Wow. commercials work. So that's pretty neat. So what got you into designing though? Like, I mean, did you get a job at CMoN or not first and then start designing?
That was actually a funny story. Miniature games is where I got my start. I started in card games, Magic, Deadlands, Doomtown actually was the game I played for numerous years. But I moved into miniature games, Warhammer, 40K and all that. And Cool Mini has the Dark Age miniature game. And it was actually, I didn't know the company was local, but I went to a local tournament and the owner of a company, Dave Douch, just happened to be the one running the event. And it was funny because I actually just had a couple questions about like how the rules are written. And I was like, I just need some clarification here. Can you answer these? And then through the event, I kept doing that. And he was like, can you just like write me all the questions you have? And that's how I basically started talking to him. So I started doing like a little bit of like rules editing for that, and that just kind of bridged into doing other things. This
So
is
if you're a
before,
rules lawyer, you can get a job.
because before that I had done volunteer work for like Upper Deck and Wizards of the Coast, and doing Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, Versus System, World of Warcraft.
Wow. All right. Well, you know what? We're going to actually shut the feed down here so that we can go play some games. What?
We did have one more thing we wanted to possibly show off, a couple of miniatures that we have.
Oh, we have them?
Yeah, yes, we do.
This is a big deal.
So,
Well, one of them's from you, actually.
Yep.
Did you have to design that?
I designed the entire thing. I sent you emails about that. I was asking you questions about it.
I forget who sent me the emails.
I was like, hey, can you tell me a bit about Z? And you're like, I don't know, make him just a big brute guy and just give him an eye patch. And it's like, he likes poetry. I was like, okay, we'll do this.
No, that worked pretty well, though. It came out pretty well. Yeah, by the way, folks, but I really did enjoy this. Xeno Shift Dreadmire, very fun. I won a game of it. By winning, I mean I survived to the 5th round and we had to call it. I call that a
victory.
win.
Maybe, yeah.
Would I have survived farther? We'll never know. So,
More than likely, no.
Hope.
where did Z go? Oh, he went to grab the things?
okay, let's go. And he's bringing a couple of goodies.
May or may not have something here.
Oh, here. We're going to switch the microphones. Thanks for coming on the show. Look forward to trying your games. Unclip your...
Sir? So these come so in handy. Very cool. Awesome. Have a seat.
Alrighty. First thing is tell everyone who you are.
Hello everyone, my name is Guillermo. I'm a producer and game designer at CMoN or Not.
Alright, so what do we have here? These are pretty cool.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. We just received the very first copies, production copies for Z, the Poet Tyrant.
The Poet Tyrant.
Looking pretty good there, Z.
It's a tyrant.
See, at this point in time, we should say, and then don't forget to switch to that when we get them on the camera. We should say that we work with Z, and Tyrant is a pretty reasonable,
Flip it completely. Stand it up.
like this. Don't you feel like Tyrant is a pretty good way he treats us?
Very much so.
All right, the other one is Hilly, as a god of Asgard, right there.
And this is how he acts.
I do not.
Oh, sure, you go off on Z, but
I've heard that he kind of likes the game, right?
so these are actually final things. These are really cool.
Yeah.
So this means they're coming. For those of you who backed our Kickstarter, they will come. This is proof.
Yep, it's right there. I hope you guys enjoy it.
Yeah, no, these are really exciting. So this is we'll be telling you soon on the Kickstarter when these will be coming to your door or when we'll be shipping them out. So we'll let you guys know. But this at least shows us that these are very early copies.
Yeah, those are the very first copies. Just to clear up, Healy is a god of Asgard, which you play with the expansion Gods of Asgard, in which you get 2 gods out and they influence 2 regions on the board. And Z right there is a mercenary crew for any faction for Roman Bones.
That's right. All right, well, these are pretty cool. Thanks for showing them off
no
to
problem.
us.
All right, glad to be here.
Alrighty, folks. Well, that is that. That's a good way to end today. We're going to be doing some more live streaming tonight if we can do it. Depends on the thing. But so come back. I don't know. Just watch our channel. I'll do some live streaming tonight. It might be short, might not be. We'll try to get some other games, and we're going to go play games now for the rest of the day. So tonight we'll be able to tell you a little bit about what we played. And that's about it. Thanks for watching the Dice Tower. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Z Garcia.
And I'm Sam Healer.
And you've been watching the Dice Tower.
See ya.
I'm running out of tune.